When you're at the store and something's $59, that's really what you came for. It's $59, that's what you need. But of course, because retailers are good merchandisers, it's next to something that's $79. A few more bells and whistles, a little bit nicer. Don't necessarily need it, but it is kind of cool, and it's only $20 more. But you're paying with a credit card, even if you're paying the bill every month. You're far more likely to swipe the card and get the $79 one, as opposed to just handing over 320s and getting the $59 one when you're on that cash diet. And that's why it really does help to start using cash to feel that pain and to get your spending further under control.
Right. Like especially if you set a budget for yourself, say I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to buy this for $60, and you bring the $60. Now that's where sometimes people will even use envelopes. It's a little bit extreme, but you put a level of cash in and you say that's what I'm going to spend, say this month on food or something like that. When it's out, it's out.
That's it. It's done.
Whereas when it's your credit card, it's kind of a little bit unlimited in how that all works.
That's right. Absolutely.
And so on a similar, kind of opposite topic, one of your other strategies is about enjoying free stuff, right? And a lot of times people almost forget how to enjoy their money in some cases, or they're enjoying it too much and they're forgetting how to enjoy the stuff that can be really low cost.
That's right.
Or really free. Can you talk a little bit about how people can be doing that?
Absolutely. And one of the things that people always seem to forget, we're in a pretty urban environment. Somerville and the surrounding areas, not a cheap place to live. But on the other hand, there's so much available in this community and nearby that doesn't cost anything because you have so much culture right here. There's no tax or there's no fee or admission charge to go to the public garden or to go down the common or to do people watching on Boylston Street. There's no charge for any of that. Those things used to be a lot of fun. Right? This myth.
There's still a lot of fun.
There's still a lot of fun, but we used to accept that was a lot of fun and didn't necessarily have to go into the restaurant or the bar or the coffee shop. Our perceptions change as we get older. When you're a teenager and you have no money, your stress isn't really over not having money. It's over your friends and who you're spending time with and who likes you and doesn't like you. And as you get older, it's almost as though in order to be entertained, in order to be happy, we must be spending money. And it's a myth. It's really about who you're with, what you're doing, and enjoying yourself. And there are so many things around this area that we can do, and now particularly as we've entered the summer, there's so much to do that really can be enjoyable, that at the end of the day, you can have a really good day and not necessarily have spent any money at all.
Right. It's so amazing. We just get almost trained ourselves. Like we get in this habit that it has to involve money with it, but it really doesn't. And you're touching on such a sweet point in that it's about the experiences that we have. And that's what we're remembering, whether it's with our families, our friends, it's those things, and it's that walk in the park, literally. And I don't want to sound
being on the playground.
It could sound a little cheesy, but I think that's really what we remember looking back.
We call it cheesy because society has said that's cheesy because you're not spending money. But the truth is, I challenge anyone. If you have a choice between spending $30 on some random lunch or going with your son or daughter and pushing him or her on the swings or watching them at a soccer game, what truly makes you feel better and your son or daughter at the end of the day, it's not even going to be close.
It's that quality time.
Close. It's the quality time. That's what you remember. That's how you create memories. That's where happiness comes from.
Right. And that's that whole idea of it's really coming from within. It's not these outer things that we're going to spend our money on that's then going to impact us. It's really how we feel that's going to be able to affect our spending and just our whole self-esteem and self-worth in the process too.
Absolutely.
And when we talk about enjoying the free stuff, maybe we can just give people a challenge here to really start to think about what could that be for you. What are the free things that are in your life that you could be doing?
That's right.
Is it at $0, at $5, at $10, at $20? I've done this in some of my classes before, and it's like lists of things that people can come up with when they just put their creative minds together and what people can learn from each other. They're like, oh, I didn't know that you could do that.
Right.
And there's so much that's available now. And there's even websites that will mail you coupons for things or email you coupons. There's something called Groupon now that will give you a lot of stuff that's going on in the area. And then even now I've noticed that the say art studios are open more, whether it's the South End on the first Friday or it's the ICA or the Museum of Fine Arts. There's so many things now that people can be doing that have free nights, that have that have opportunities where you can go and you just sit and enjoy it. Anything else you can think of kind of to get people to start to think?
I always give people one word: hobbies. Right? That's what it was. The stuff that you grew up doing. It was whatever it was. If it was playing soccer, if it was playing piano, if it was going on a hike, going to the beach. All these things that I used to do plenty of growing up are hobbies, and we get disconnected partially because we're working so hard. By the way, to make money to pay for the things that we don't really actually want.
Right.
Because we get sidetracked. But if you can get it, I mean, it's true. It's it's a lifestyle change, as you talked about, being partially financial therapist. There's more to this than just money. It's more than just technical. This is a lifestyle you need to adopt if you want to stop living paycheck to paycheck. And part of it is just getting reconnected with what truly made you happy as a child, to the extent that those things could still be enjoyable for you today. Making the time, they don't cost a lot of money, and all of a sudden your quality of life has gone up, and you don't have the stress of figuring out how you're going to pay the bills.
Right. It's just so amazing. And it can be that simple to really take that step back to think about it. And a couple other of your strategies that I think are so relevant right now is, one is the idea of major on the major. And then we can touch on kind of how we address the minor too, in terms of not forgetting about that recurring minor, because it kind of turns into a major.
It could be. Yep.
So, so why don't we start with the major on the major and what some things are that people can be doing now, and then we can address the second one.
Yeah, the key point of the major on the major, minor on the minor strategy, as it sounds, it's doubly focused, right? It's that you want to put major emphasis on the big expenses, but at the same time, you have to free yourself from worrying about what's truly nonsensical in the grand scheme of things, because people can swing too far. And then it becomes like a regular, like a nutritional diet, where they go, forget this isn't working, I'm too frustrated, and they throw the whole thing out. So what you really want to do is seek balance, like every other part of your life. And so it does give you permission, that strategy, the major on the major, minor on the minor, to forget about the small things. In my mind, if you're pushing a shopping cart down and you're going past Stop and Shop, and you have a list, which is always a good thing, of course, but you see the salt, and you remember, you know what? We ran out of salt. It's not on the list. I need it. And you pause and think, I wonder if that's cheaper at Target or Walmart. Stop the nonsense, right? It's over. It's salt, right? You're going to buy it again in 5 years. It's 59 cents. Pick up the salt, put it in the cart, and go on with your life, right? You can't get so worked up over small things. On the other hand, I do want people to be concerned with the major things. And the major things are expenses that reach a certain dollar threshold. And of course, for you and I and all the people watching, it's a different dollar amount. Because we make different amounts, we're different ages, we have different savings to this point in our lives. But there's a rule of thumb that I've developed that I think works very well for everyone to take home with them right now to think about. And it's very simple. If, when you're making the decision to make the purchase, if at that time you can't afford to buy the whole thing with cash, you're going to be signing up for monthly payments, you're financing it, that means it's a major expense. Doesn't mean it's a bad expense, but it definitely means it's a major expense. Include a house, include a condo, include a car, right? Few people can buy those things for cash. But if you live and work in the suburbs, you need a car, right? Not a bad thing. For some people, a flat screen TV is a major expense. For others, it's not, right? Life isn't fair. But for the person who's making that major decision to make that purchase, I want you to be the one to decide, you know what, I can handle the implications of what this purchase is going to do to the rest of my financial life. It's worth it to me not to be able to go out for a couple months because I want this TV, or to not. But the key takeaway, which is really something that's changed over the last couple of generations, is that just because someone will sell you something doesn't mean you can afford it. You now have to be the one to decide whether or not it's worth it. And I want people to make major focus on those decisions.
So, you know, part of it is that whole idea of being fiscally responsible, right? And recognizing that you are in control of the spending that you're making, and how can you actively choose what you want to focus on, and really how you can maximize the return that you're getting and minimize your investments for them. And so the other piece, when you talk about major on the major, is people can think about it when they're making that initial purchase, but they can also think about it currently. So let's say that they bought their house 5 or 10 years ago. Now they can still look at the money that they're spending, even though, you know, at the time it was a major expense. And now it's still major when they look at where their cash flow is going every month. So they could major on the major in that way too, I'd imagine, on a monthly basis, and look at where the big items that you're spending, and can those be reduced at all? Because I think sometimes people get into this like status quo mentality where they think, oh, there's nothing I can do. I'm always going to have to be spending X dollars on my mortgage. But the reality is that especially right now, people can pursue other options. They can consult, see if there's a cost benefit to refinancing right now. Right? And are there kind of other major things that people can be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a possibility that you can revisit some of these major expenses through refinancing and so forth. But for most people, refinancing is a great exception to the rule, I would say. Car, you know, once you sign up for that lease and it's 36 months, you're paying that amount for 36 months, period. There's no undo button. That's it. You're stuck with it. And you can get, you know, fortunate in an environment where interest rates are going down, if your house price hasn't gone down along with it, that you may be able to refinance. But for most people, I want the emphasis to be on when you're making the purchase decision. And the beautiful part about that strategy also is it doesn't come up that often. Right? How often are you buying a house? How often are you really buying a car? It's a few times a decade. Whereas getting the salt decision, getting the latte decision, getting the grocery decisions, you've got to get those right several times a week. And you add them all up, and it's still not as important as making sure that you didn't get a car until you needed one.